Fellas, we have some absolutely massive fight announcements recently. Well, they're not really announcements. They're more just rumours that I'm pretty sure are going to be turned into real fights soon, because 9 times out of 10 they do. I assume I'm not your source. I assume you've already heard all of these kind of rumours or announcements already, but if I am your source, listen, I'm honoured. But we're going to be predicting them as well, doing some early predictions, because why not? Interesting. Let me know your predictions down below as well. Let me know your thoughts on these matchups, because I've got varied thoughts between the different matchups. But first matchup is Sandhagen versus Nurmagomedov, rumoured for February 10th. I'm assuming this is going to be a fight night main event. Now, my first thoughts on this matchup is that I really dislike it. Now, this isn't because, listen, I'm an Umar Nurmagomedov hater, but I don't like the fact that Sandhagen, he's on this winning streak, right? He's got a massive win over Vera, obviously dominated Vera, and now Vera's getting a title shot. That just doesn't make sense how Sandhagen can fight Vera, dominate him, then fight Rob Font, dominate him, and then now he has to fight Nurmagomedov, who hasn't even got a win over a ranked opponent, and his last fight was January of this year. And then you've got Marlon Vera, who loses to Sandhagen, then gets a tiny win over Pedro Munoz, and then gets an immediate title shot. That's also a problem with bantamweight. There's too many contenders. We've got the winner of Merab versus Cejudo, which is another kind of rumoured matchup. We've got the winner of this, Sandhagen and Nurmagomedov. We've got Marlon Vera. We've got Aljo, who wants a rematch down the line as well. There's too many contenders at bantamweight, in my opinion. We've even got Pantoja saying he wants to move up as well. There's just too many contenders. But I really do feel like this should be a title eliminator for Sandhagen. If he ends up beating Marlon Vera, Umar Nurmagomedov, and Rob Font, and let's say he dominates Nurmagomedov as well, it's going to be hard to say that he doesn't deserve a title shot, especially after he beat Marlon Vera, who's now fighting for the belt, which doesn't make sense. My prediction for the fight, I've got Sandhagen winning this by decision, because, listen, I understand Nurmagomedov, he can do it all, he can strike, he can grapple, he's undefeated, and he's got the Nurmagomedov last name, but I just don't see how Sandhagen's going to lose this fight. First of all, he's got way more experience in 5-rounders. I'm assuming this is going to be a 5-rounder, but he's got way more experience when it comes to 5-rounders. Obviously, he's coming off 2 5-rounders in main events of fight nights. On top of that, he can strike. He's one of the best strikers in the bantamweight division, some of the best knockouts in the bantamweight division. Looked good on the feet against Marlon Vera as well. And grappling-wise, obviously that's what's changed with Sandhagen. These past 2 fights against Marlon Vera and Rob Font. Now, granted, neither of them are grappling wizards, but Sandhagen's obviously improved his grappling a lot, and obviously he showed in the Rob Font fight that he was preparing for a Nurmagomedov fight, and he was actually injured in the Rob Font fight as well, which is why he's not going to be fighting for a while until February. But from Nurmagomedov, listen, Nurmagomedov's a good striker. He got a knockout early this year. He's got really good submissions as well. Great fighter is Nurmagomedov, and I genuinely believe he will be champion one day, but I feel like it's just too soon. To go from not fighting anyone in the top 10, and your first fight in the top 10 is Sandhagen in a main event for a fight night, because I assume that's what it has to be, it's a big step up. Now, I'm not saying he's going to do terribly. I'm not saying he's going to get flatlined. In fact, I do think he can actually win a few rounds, but I'm going to have to go Sandhagen by decision. It's the smart option. Sandhagen's been preparing for this fight for a while. He's been way more active. He's way more experienced. It's the obvious pick here for me, so I'm going to go Sandhagen, but let me know your thoughts on this matchup. I don't really like it for the bantamweight division. It doesn't really do much. I wish Sandhagen got a higher ranked fight. Next fight, Kevin Holland versus MVP. Now, this has got a lot of hype around it, because MVP, obviously, his big debut in the UFC. I believe he's like 21-2, his MMA record. Let me just quickly check. Michael Venom Page. Yes, 21-2. His last win was early this year in March, and he got an instant TKO in the first round. MVP's an insane striker. I actually think if he joins the UFC, he'll still be one of the best strikers in the UFC. He's so good. The only issue is he hasn't fought elite competition. He's been fighting people in elite competition in Bellator, but elite competition in Bellator, it doesn't translate to elite competition in the UFC. On top of that, he's 36 years old now. He's getting old in the welterweight division. Kevin Holland has looked good in his last few fights, and the problem with Kevin Holland is I feel like if he uses grappling, he will definitely win this fight, because MVP has shown that he definitely has flaws when it comes to grappling, and I feel like if Kevin Holland can capitalize on that by trying to grapple with MVP, I genuinely think he'll maybe even finish him in the early rounds. But Kevin Holland doesn't strike me as the type of guy to have a fight with MVP on this big fight on a big card and decide to grapple with him. I feel like Kevin Holland's going to decide to strike, and because of that, I'm picking MVP to win the fight. I just don't see Kevin Holland being the type of guy to want to grapple with him. He didn't do it against Wonderboy, and I don't think he's going to do it against MVP. I see MVP outstriking him and getting a debut. I don't think it's going to be as a dynamic debut as like a Michael Chandler got from Bellator, but I do have MVP winning this fight because his striking's just so good. He's obviously going to be training takedown defense as well, but Holland just doesn't strike me as the type of guy to try and grapple with him. He only really grapples if it's initiated first, so I'm going to go MVP to win this fight by decision. Maybe even if it was a 5-rounder, I might even pick him to win by stoppage, but because it's probably going to be a 3-rounder, it's only on a UFC 297 card, definitely going to be on the main card. I'm going to pick MVP by decision for this one. Great fight, and I can't wait to see MVP finally in the UFC, and I called this matchup as well. I did a video not long ago saying fighters who should go to the UFC who aren't in it already, and I said if MVP is going to join, 100% book him in against Holland, and now it's happened, so I can't wait for this matchup though overall. Next fighter, we get the return of Brian Ortega. Finally, the king is back. I'm kidding. Brian Ortega's no king. Yeah, Ortega, for some reason, is still ranked. I think he's ranked number 3. His last win was in 2020 against a Korean zombie who is not even in the UFC anymore and is coming off a loss to Holloway and not Rodriguez, what's his name? Volkanovski. He's won one of his last 4 fights. Why is he still ranked number 3? Now he's going to have to fight Yair Rodriguez. Now, I don't mind this matchup at all. I wish it was I wish Brian Ortega would have fought sooner. Now, obviously, he already did fight Yair Rodriguez early last year. Didn't end well for him. Got injured. But now they've rebooked it. It's the UFC Mexico as well, main event. So they're rebooking the fight. I'm going to go Yair Rodriguez winning this. I don't see how Brian Ortega wins. He didn't look good in his last few. I know he nearly finished Volkanovski, but that's all he's really got going for him now. His last win was Korean Zombie. Rodriguez didn't look great against Volkanovski, but again, that's Volkanovski. But I feel like he definitely came closer to beating Holloway, did Rodriguez, than Ortega did. He's still an amazing striker. If he's able to keep it on the feet and not get caught by any submissions, you got to remember as well, Rodriguez has some good jiu-jitsu. Rodriguez isn't terrible when it comes to jiu-jitsu. He's looked great, obviously submitted Josh Emmett, and even in other fights, he's shown that he's got good jiu-jitsu. Way better striker than Ortega. I'm going to go Yair Rodriguez, potentially even a finish, but I'm going to go with a safe option and say decision for Yair Rodriguez because I just don't see Brian Ortega being able to finish him unless he latches on a submission, and especially with the fact, maybe I would have even picked Ortega to win if he'd have fought his last win was 2020, and his last proper fight was in 2021. Obviously, the fight with Rodriguez last time it happened was an injury, so I'm going to go Rodriguez. It is in Mexico as well, so he has the crowd advantage. Now, talking to Mexico, we have another Mexican fight, Brandon Moreno versus Amir Albar. Now, this is on that same UFC Mexico card, February 24th. I'm going to go Brandon Moreno by knockout in the 3rd round. I assume it's going to be a 3rd round because it's not the main event, and maybe they're going to do a 5-rounder for the co-main, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be a 3-rounder the co-main event. Moreno versus Albar, I'm going Brandon Moreno. Amir Albar, he didn't look amazing against Kai Kara-France. I'm not going to say he looked bad because he's fighting Kai Kara-France at the end of the day, but you've got to remember as well, I don't think he won that fight. I don't think he should be fighting Moreno right now. He should be fighting someone lower down in the rankings. He is undefeated in the UFC. He's got a pretty good record as well, 17-1. He's got good submissions as well, but I just don't see him beating Moreno anywhere. On the feet, Moreno's going to outbox him and outstrike him comfortably. I know, why am I talking about Pantoja? I know Albar, is a good striker, he's a hard hitter and everything, but Moreno, he's got more experience than him. Same with Sandhagen and Nurmagomedov. He's got more experience going 5 rounds. It's not even a 5-rounder. He's got more experience against these high-level guys. I genuinely see Moreno destroying him. When it comes to grappling, I understand Albar can grapple, but so can Moreno. Moreno's actually got some underrated grappling. He's only ever had issues grappling with elite grapplers in flyweight, like Pantoja, like Figueiredo. So I'm going to go Moreno, stopping him in the 3rd round, maybe even the 2nd. I just don't see Albar. I just don't see a path to victory for him. I don't see him winning anywhere. He should be fighting someone lower down in the rankings. To be honest, like I said, Moreno was able to stop Kai Kara-France, even beat him a few years back as well in 2019. You've got Albar, who barely scraped a decision that no one really thought he won. So I'm going with Moreno. He gets his comeback win after the loss to Pantoja, which was a close fight, and then he's going to the UFC are probably going to give him a title shot from there. Let's be honest, but yeah, I'm going Moreno. Sorry, Albar, but get out the UFC. Robert Whitaker versus Paulo Costa. This is also being scheduled for UFC 299. I'm going with Robert Whitaker by decision. Although, obviously, Whitaker's just fought a power puncher, and he got stopped by a power puncher, and Paulo Costa, again, is a power puncher, but it just doesn't make sense to pick Costa. He's just recently been injured. He's going to be fighting on March 9th, apparently. But the main thing about Costa is inactivity. His last fight, Paulo Costa's last fight, was in 2022 in September, which is ages ago. 2022 in September against Luke Rockhold. His last fight was against Luke Rockhold, who's now getting beaten up in BKFC. Before that, it was Yo Romero. Paulo Costa, I don't know what's going on with him, man. I don't know what's going on with his career. Maybe he's just really unlucky, but his inactivity doesn't make sense. And I know that Whitaker got beaten in his fight against Dricus du Plessis. Paulo Costa doesn't have the finishing ability that Dricus has, in my opinion, so I think Whitaker is going to be similar to the Vettori fight. He's just going to comfortably outstrike Paulo Costa. I don't think Paulo Costa's got the grappling fundamentals to take him down, or just grappling him in general. Whitaker, way better striker than Paulo Costa from what we've seen. And I'm going to say it's going to go very similar to the Marvin Vettori matchup. It's going to be Whitaker, or it's definitely not going to be a main event, but Whitaker, all 3 rounds, beats him, unless Costa can somehow pull off a finish, which I just don't see him happening considering he's been inactive, and he hasn't looked great in his last few. He also lost to Marvin Vettori, who Whitaker schooled. He looked way worse against Adesanya than Whitaker did, so I'm going to go Whitaker to win this fight, and then maybe from there we can see Whitaker fight, I don't know, maybe a #1 contender fight, and Paulo Costa, I don't know what's going to go in with him. But if Paulo Costa pulls out of this fight, cut him from the UFC, man. I'm sick of seeing Paulo Costa fight announcements and then a pull out immediately. So this should be the last straw for Costa's career. He's lucky he's getting a fight with Whitaker over a win over Rockhold, in my opinion. But yeah, Whitaker versus Costa. I'm going Whitaker by decision. Let me know your thoughts on that matchup, and let me know your thoughts on all the matchups. I think these are some pretty decent matchups overall. Some of them I'm not really too sure of, but overall there's some decent fights. Thank you for watching as well. These are some banger fights. Make sure you, by the way, just let me know your predictions for all of the fights, but thank you for watching.